Orland's tunnel was right where I was told it would be. I haven't been in the Keeper compound since my trial. It's a sprawling complex right in the heart of the city, hidden by glyphs. Orland has the compound on alert, so they'll be armed and ready for intruders. Me, that is. So much for working together. I know I didn't kill Katika, but someone did, and my money's on Orland. He fixed the trial and sent the assassins after me, and the fallen clock tower points right to his office. Brethren and betrayer suddenly makes sense. But suspicions aren't enough, so tonight I'll do some snooping. And if a little Keeper wealth ends up in my pockets, all the better. Orland's place is on the top floor. No surprise, he's always liked looking down on people. Artemis has a room near the dormitories. I should search there, too. And I'd better check the scene of Katika's murder. One last thing. The Keeper Council meets tonight. If I can stay awake, I might learn something.
Of brethren and betrayers. Search Orland's quarters on the top floor for information that might implicate him. Holy crap. First sentence said, mess it up twice. Search Artemis's quarters in the dormitory for a clue to his whereabouts. Lastly, visit Katika's murder site in the lower libraries to investigate the cause of her death. When all of your objectives are complete, leave the Keeper compound through the old quarter passage in the lower libraries. Note: Katika was murdered in her chambers in the lower libraries. Until Orland's binding seal is destroyed, the lower libraries will not be accessible. Hey everyone, alright. Welcome back to some more Let's Play Thief Deadly Shadows. As usual, we are going to be playing on the hard difficulty. Can I not even pronounce simple words? I guess I can't. That seal of binding is preventing me from speaking eloquently. It's preventing me from speaking even harshly, or at all. We still have to find 6% of the loot in the mission, 2 special loot items. The enemies, of course, are on high alert. The enemies are able to fight very well. There are a good number of enemies, and we take more damage than we would on normal. Remember again, I always feel compelled to say this, I don't know why, because you guys probably know by now, that I have increased the difficulty of the AI's perceptions by an extra 60%, so they will be very ready for me. 2 more things before we get going. First, our gear. Actually, maybe like 3 or 4 more things before we get going, so a little bit more of a prep this time. We are maxed out on fire arrows. We have a 10. I don't think we're allowed to carry anymore, though we'll certainly try to pick one up. We've got almost a max gas arrows at 4. And 5 noisemakers. Decent amounts of all our other arrows. Almost max on several of them. We are almost max on all our equipment as well, including gas bombs. On this note, everyone, I feel kind of guilty. Because I've been using quite a few knockout items recently. More than I would have if this was a Thief 1 or 2 game. But I feel that because they are somewhat expensive to purchase, and they cost a resource, the amount of money we possess, that I should be allowed to use them, although it is making the game rather easy. You'll note that I will attempt to use gas bombs if I'm caught and can't get away, or if 2 people are close enough together that the AoE will affect them. And I tend to use gas arrows when I must hit something in the face, or at a greater distance. I'm still giving myself those 2 blackjacks. In this mission, because I have practiced it, I'm going to continue to give myself 2 blackjacks, but I've been tempted to reduce it to just 1, given all the gas items we have. At this point, everyone, I feel like I should talk about balance a bit, but I don't think you guys care. The other thing I wanted to talk about was indeed that I have practiced this mission. I was able to get through this mission last night. I got detected like 1,000,000 times. Every single thing in the entire facility saw me, and I knocked and destroyed out everything in the facility. Every single thing had to be knocked out. That was my attempt at practice. The good news is I am a little more familiar now with where the guard patrol routes are. The bad news is this isn't going to make it any easier for me, given how absolutely horrific it was the last time. So, with all that said, let's go ahead now and get started. Orland's secret tunnel doesn't seem like something Orland would normally take, does it?
Bloodshed in the compound. It has been centuries, has it not?
278 years, Keeper Vorig. I read my histories. Though, of course, there have been the unexplained disappearances.
The Council must respond to this, quickly and decisively. Come, let us take our places. And when the vote comes, I trust you will step forward with me to be counted. We will need every vote in favor we can muster. Attendance in the Council is lacking.
Wonder what they have left to decide. Maybe I can persuade a few keepers to vote my way.
If the council is set to vote, then it takes place in the room we had seen during the cutscene in which Garrett was seated and captured by the runes that surrounded him. The keepers step forward with candles held to cast a vote in favor of whatever is being decided upon, and step back without their candle if they vote against it. We will want to listen to what they are voting on before we decide what we will be doing, since we might be persuading allies to vote against us instead of enemies to vote for us, as it were. The coming of the third dawn shall be seen upon the land as the beginning of the end, as the opening of the unwritten times. The order of the glyphs shall be touched by the ancient and the wretched, and the words of the glyphs shall unwind. It doesn't look like anyone is patrolling at the moment down here. Until further notice, all glyph doors shall be sealed. Until the Brethren and Betrayer has been dealt with, we cannot allow unfettered travel through our compound. Acolytes should take care to travel in pairs and remain vigilant.
Xavier would never have allowed it. Times are different. Orland is first keeper now.
Same note. That is the main council room. We can hear the whispering going on from keepers talking to themselves or their
Recognize her now. How old she has grown, and so quickly.
compatriots.
It's not right that she continues her work with the glyphs. The process is aging her too rapidly.
Requires no fuel, yet the blue flame burns without ceasing. We can apparently also hold more than 10 fire arrows. I thought 10 was the limit. 5 is the limit for noisemakers and gas arrows. Now, having practiced this area, I can tell you a little bit about the dangers of increasing the perception of our foes. If these two decide to vote against Garrett, the way to stop them is either to put out their candles or knock them out. Knocking them out is generally what you should or would normally do. But when they hit the ground, it will make enough noise to alert about every other keeper in the compound who is close by, which would be the guard there, and maybe others in the council chamber. We're going to still try to blackjack them, but this may go south right away. Just a heads up.
Where can they have gone? They should be right there in the third shelf, or at least signed out. We've gotten so careless then. Once lost, knowledge is hard to regain.
The voting won't start until we go into one of those hallways. Thankfully, they're still preparing to talk about what they want to vote on. And it is in our interest to come up here first. There's a guard up here, and we'll want to time his patrol.
Yes! Who is there? Answer me. Keep looking. I am convinced that someone is there.
We'll turn something up. Continue your search.
Why this game you play? Why the hiding? I will have my answers when I find you. The culprit has eluded me, but in a place such as this, they will not get far.
I do not think they would normally have reacted to the sound of a moss arrow crystal shattering. We will need another arrow in that area too, based on what I heard. His footsteps, we could hear them in the archway of that entrance.
Huh. Is it the same again? Where was I?
It's going to be tricky. But we're going to make a try for it.
Fellow keepers, many of us are called elsewhere this night, but for those that remain, I now bring this council to order. The question we consider first is whether access to Catacus chambers shall be prescribed. Shall we remove a guard from the Grand Hall and set him to guard the scene of Interpreter Catacus' murder?
Garrett will no doubt seek to return to the scene of his crime. Let us place a guard, ensuring an end to his malice for once and all.
A guard will hardly stop Garrett, and will only cause trouble for our own work.
The violence in the city is growing. We need not add to it by arming
Funny
our own
noises.
against each other.
Let Katika's memory retain some privacy. There is nothing to be gained by picking over
Should
her
not let
rooms.
myself be so
Place a
easily
guard that
distracted.
they might warn away those whose curiosity outweighs their respect.
Well spoken, all. Weigh all that you have heard, and all that you know in consideration. Remember, a majority vote is needed to take action. If your vote is to be yes, you must step forward and be counted. If your vote is to be no, remain unseen in your alcove. And the question before
Where
us
was
is,
I? Again?
do you wish to have Katika's chambers guarded?
Oof!
Keepers, make your decisions known now. The decision of the Council is no. The guard shall remain at his post in the Grand Hall. The second issue at hand concerns some books in the Elder Libraries which may shed light on the unwritten times. A proposal has been made to bring these precious volumes upstairs to the Hall of Scribes for further study, and where, under many watchful eyes, we might ensure the safety of these valuable chronicles. It is no secret that there have been disappearances. So, shall these books be moved to the Hall of Scribes?
The only reasonable vote is for the safety of these precious books. They must be moved.
The books are fragile and will not stand the move or harsh treatment. They've been safe up until now. They should remain where they are.
Thank you for all your words. Weigh all that you have heard and all that you know in consideration. And the question before us is, should the books in the Elder's Library be brought to the more populated scribe room for study? The decision of the Council is no. The volumes in question shall remain in the Elder's Library and for study at some later time. If there is no further business, we shall adjourn.
The girl there was our ally, apparently. He was not. While the vote was tied, you must have a majority vote in order for the yay votes, or the votes in favor of, for a change to occur. We almost didn't make it down. The moment that we heard him speak, we could rightfully guess that she was his ally and would vote with him. I'm looking at the shadow on the bookshelf to see when he turns. We've mossed the area, which makes it difficult for me to sneak up here. There's a painting there that I wouldn't mind taking. And a goblet there, too. We'll try the same exact thing we had done. Get into that hallway, wait for him to walk past to where he is now, and then steal the things there. The blue flame blazes, the deadly shadows amass, the pendulum swings in wider and wider arcs. Our efforts have garnered not balance but chaos, and the unwritten times will be upon us. The first sign was mapped out in darkness and the return of the trickster. The eye was opened, and the city seemed sure to fall into madness. The balance was tipped from civilization towards savagery. While the darkness was defeated by the true keeper, trickery thrown back onto the trickster himself, the balance shifted, and the second sign was graven in steel. Iron triumphed over flesh and leaf, and the Hammer faction stood in full force behind a mad prophet. That's not true. That's not true. Many of the Hammers did not agree with the Mechanists. The machine fell to its own power, and the prophet's tongue was stilled. But the pendulum swings yet. Both factions, Greenwood and Machine, will again strive against each other, and the world will turn between them. All will be darkness and shadow, and the future be unwritten forever. Thankfully, Garrett screaming in the shadows is not enough to worry the guard.
I'm tired. I've read many pages today.
The girl with the candle seems like she's coming back in this direction.
Precautions. Oh, I told them there were dangers. They didn't want to hear me.
Sneaking past her might prove to be very difficult. She walks rather slowly, though.
Seems to be in its proper place of late. Come to think of it, I don't think the reports from the Reeve expedition were ever filed. But then, why would Elder Montrose say they were?
Here's what the plan will be, everyone. When she begins walking up those stairs, we will drop down there once the gentleman who's patrolling also is patrolling back to the left.
Dangers. They didn't want to hear me.
was it impossible to tell? These are troubling times, but I should not waste my precious time over nothing.
The Ibris Analex finally arrived by ship, undamaged by the salt spray. Our agents were able to secure it, though the price was quite steep. The captain seemed surprised that the package contained no platinum or diamonds, as he could conceive of no object of greater value. It has been brought to the scribe room for immediate transcription. Or has it? Because it's in our possession. This was something that they were voting on, and I guess this book wasn't moved. Although it says it was.
Is someone there? I think it was somewhere over here. Whatever I saw, it is gone now.
Huh? I am sorry. I have distracted you for nothing.
That tells me that there's someone else outside there that he was talking to.
Aha!
I am on my way.
You shall fall, betrayer.
This much I know. If it is here, we will find it.
You're not trying to hide, are you? That would be illogical.
Oh, that's a shame. We have already blackjacked 2 people. Yes, I'm going to count the 2 we blackjacked earlier towards our blackjack limit.
I was mistaken about the sound.
It's not safe for us to stay here.
Greetings, Elder.
An actual page. Removed. Torn out. It hardly seems believable. Yet Elder Gravis hardly seemed surprised. Like he already knew the chronicles had been tampered with.
Interesting. That's a second copy of the Ibramis Analytics. With the torch must
Not
be
what I would
patrolling.
call a balanced response to the situation. He has so little control. It is unseemly. Huh? There is no sound that I can should be right there. Hello? Is that you, Acolyte? Nothing. I can barely remember what it was that worried me so.
We can see that the glyph doors are still sealed, obviously. We have not found the means yet to remove their seal, so we will have to find it, which Garrett believes, rightfully so, is in Orland's quarters. That was a golden scale set that we took. I would like to know where the guy with the torch is located. It looks like he's patrolling this floor. Glyph Warden Ruhan. Have you heard of any further untoward behavior on part of the glyphs in the scribarium? Be sure to make note of exactly which scribes and which glyphs have proved difficult. Notify me immediately should any further changes occur. Expecting the guy with the torch to come out of that archway and walk that way. If he doesn't do so in 2 more passes of this keeper, here he comes. Wait till he walks back through that arc before I decide to explore that passage. It'll give us the most time we could have to do so.
May you have balance.
Greetings to you.
Did I hear a...
Time to take an active hand. They claim that. And what about the scribes who were hurt? The glyphs they were scribing should be reported, and for now, for safety's sake, we should avoid those particular glyphs.
Keeper Emery. I spied Initiate reading the Bafford Chronicles in the dining hall this eve. Such travesties of the written word may have their place in a nobleman's store, but are inappropriate here. The monetary value of the book matters not to a scholar. See to it that the book is removed from the hall and destroyed. That must be the other copy of the Imbrim we picked up. So it looks like there's a little glitch, and maybe the game didn't expect that you would actually be able to knock both people out in time.
Where was I?
Could someone have just taken it?
Without a wand or staff, spellcasters cannot cast spells. She will instead run to get help, then actually attack me. He suddenly pivoted. He may have seen me crawling across the other archways in the court. A keyhole without a key. We can't pick it. Keeper Cassandra. I am anxious to see what is happening in the city of late. Bring me a copy of your reports as quickly as possible. Artemis will use his Keeper ring to provide you access to the passages leading to my quarters. First Keeper Orland. These are not Artemis's quarters, but this is the dormitory. It must be in the room beyond the door down there.
This looks like Artemis's room. Maybe I can find out where he went.
Journal of Keeper Artemis. There is indeed something amiss with Garrett, but I am not convinced of his guilt. The prophecies do not lie. The clock tower speaks ill of the future. First Keeper Orland acts hastily. The balance is no longer within him, and I fear for the future of our order. I could use my Keeper ring to open the passages leading to his quarters, but suppose I found nothing to validate my intrusion. I can only hope that my night journeys uncover something before I'm discovered acting outside protocol. Keeper Morrow has gifted the Order with a set of golden scales. It speaks to what we have become, that such a trinket, precious only for its metal, is so valued. They have been placed on display in the Elder's library. Perhaps I am mistaken, and they will serve to inspire. At last, I may have learned something of the one who lies dormant. My investigation may take several days, and I must leave without permission. Will I be the next to be accused of treachery? It hardly matters. I do not even bring my robes and my ring with me, for fear that if I die, our secrets may be compromised. Well, then they're likely here, unless he too has a secret room someplace. Since Artemis is a friend, this may prove to make this mission extremely difficult. But I will not take all his gems. He can keep a few.
A noise? Just a random noise. Did I hear a...
The keeper with the torch may have seen this door open
There is no noise now.
and investigated.
Huh. Is it the same again? Could have heard. Just a random noise. A noise?
Huh, indeed. I must enlist the help of others.
I was hoping I could avoid doing that. Well, he'll be seen. I would normally put him into Artemis's room, on the bed there, but it will make too much noise dropping his body. And the girl outside will become suspicious.
I know what I think. And I think it was the glyphs.
Oh, crap! We got the glyph, we got the key, and there was a keyhole there. But we also have the map, and there's another entrance to Orland's quarters. Somewhere near the dining hall.
There. You. Betrayer. did you go? Did you reveal your hiding place?
Good evening.
Indeed.
I want to look down that passageway. We'll wait for the guy with the torch to walk past and take a peek. There might be another room off that hallway we haven't seen or explored. There is not.
So I laughed. Is that such a crime? I still don't see why I get extra.
There's probably nothing worth taking in the scribe room. So let's go back up to the dining room then. How much loot, by the way, do we have currently? Only 41%. Hopefully Orland is living the life of opulence and will find enough loot in his chambers. Let's get the proof we need. We know Orland. Well, do we know Orland's up here?
Orland. I wouldn't have thought you were the peeping Tom sort.
Interesting. Garrett knows what this is.
Uh-huh. That seal must be what Orland's using to hide the door glyphs. Time for me to get rid of it.
Before we do so, just in case we set this on fire and other things in the room, let's read the scroll here. I am sure you have been concerned as well as I over Garrett's motives, and I applaud your caution. I advise that you restrict his access to the upper libraries in particular. Those books are our most prized repositories of knowledge, and we cannot risk them being ill-used. Journal of First Keeper Orland. I wonder if Kotica keeps secrets even to herself. Twice she has sent me a note with instructions, but said nothing in council. But she speaks little beyond prophecy. I am not pleased that the council allows Garrett back in our midst. He cares nothing for balance, or the knowledge we guard. Even Artemis will rue this decision. I take no joy in being proven right about Garrett, for it resulted in the death of my most trusted colleague. Had I stood more strongly against him, Kotica would not now be dead, and none has the skill to take her place as interpreter. Gamal is far untrained, but she is all we have. I must make arrangements for her promotion. Another note has arrived, and in the hand I knew as Kotica's. If it is her... No, that is madness. If not her, then who have I obeyed for so long? Our halls are not safe. I am binding the keeper door glyphs shut so all must pass in full view. The enforcers have had no luck destroying Garrett. He has learned more of our secrets than we thought. This makes it sound, combined with this paragraph, that Orland may have suspected something else is going wrong and sealed the glyphs, not necessarily solely because of Garrett, but because of this other note, which we saw right here, which sounds very similar to a note we read from Kotica back in his actual chambers outside this area. Interesting. Tonight I shall see if I still remember the art of the unseen. If Garrett is in the city, I shall find him, and the enforcers will finish this. With the binding seal still in place and kept safely in my room, no one may enter through the old quarter passage. Only when Garrett is dead shall I melt the seal with fire, lest our safety be compromised. Okay, nope. He is doing this solely for me. He is dead set that we are the brethren and betrayer. Either he wrote this with the knowledge I would find it, or perhaps someone else would eventually try to find his journal and suspect him of being a brethren betrayer for keeping notes. Maybe he would have some sort of evil-sounding diatribe here, but he doesn't. Well, Orland has not been much of a friend. We'll take his paycheck. Objectives. Search Orland's quarters on top floor for information that might implicate him, and we found none. There is none here. As far as we can tell, based on what his room had, nothing implicates him as a brethren and betrayer, other than potentially an absent-minded or accidental betrayer, given that he's following someone's instructions, who he thought was Kotica, but he's still getting notes from someone who is writing with Kotica's hand. Well, we have nothing else up here. We go back to the room with the scales now. The seal should have been undone. I'm guessing that, well, the keepers just don't notice it, which would seem odd now that it will be glowing blue again and not red. Or maybe they suspect that, or, well, who knows, I guess, why they might not immediately begin to wonder why the seals are no longer bound. The torches here are not, have no glint. There is nothing there worth stealing that I can see. Normally be a guard here, not posted. Thanks to how the vote went.
Whoever did this knows a lot more about glyphs than most keepers. That's not good.
Ogley's Treaty on Sentience, Section 24. To trace the history of the artifacts is to trace a history of strife and chaos. Where they appear, war follows, or catastrophe. Several factions have ascribed a beneficent purpose or even a religious origin to the artifacts that fall into their hands, but they delude themselves. An artifact serves no master but itself. To name them artifacts as if they shared one origin or motive is misleading. Several are sentient, but whether they share a common sentience is unknown. They have never gathered in one place. To speculate what might happen is beyond current knowledge. The end of the world or the beginning of something entirely new. Following the movements of these elusive objects is relatively easy, as each subsequent owner falls prey to their influences. An exception to this is the crown, the whereabouts of which is unknown. References to it can be found in pagan mythologies, who believe it was given by the trickster to an offshoot race, though we can find no evidence that this race ever existed. A hint that we possess a very powerful item, and if I had considered selling it, I don't think I will now. Compiled. Lexicography. Volume 4. Religion. Malcontent, Hammer. A member of the lower class who has publicly spoken against the worship of the Builder. Malefactor, Hammer. One who has actively tried to harm the religion of the Builder. Could theoretically be applied to a Hammerite actively trying to harm the religion of the Woodlord, but not applied to such by the Hammerite Church. That doesn't make any sense. One who has actively tried to harm the religion of the Builder. How does that work with the Woodlord? This would have to say one who has actively tried to harm the religion of its faithful members. Probably should have proofread this. Manfool, pagan. a non-believer, especially an urban resident. Mechanist religion, a schism of the Hammerite religion. See, formed by Prophet Karras. The Mechanists were characterized by a focus on machinery and technology, and an overwhelming desire to destroy elements of nature. After the destruction of their primary cathedral Soulforge and the death of Karras, the religion was disbanded. See Hammerite heresy trials for more information. Nice. Good for the Hammers, purging those heretics. Garrett. Surprised are we to see a note, a paper, naming you by your very own name. Are you answering your questions, or are you simply questioning your answers? I know what you seek, and you seek what I know.
No one is supposed to know I'm here. So who left me this note?
It did not look like that gargoyle statue was placed there like the others, does it?
This is the place, all right. Why do I smell a rat?
Terminus animus, take the power, the glyphs, the bindings, live, walk, talk, and and obey! Yes, my will, my desires. Terminus, animus, awake! Garrett is here among you somewhere. Seek, fetch, find him out. Crush him till breathing stops. Cut him till bleeding stops. Do not let him escape. Yes. I must leave you my helpers, my minions, my stone warriors, and secret myself away. Yes, must keep secret, must stay hidden a little while longer. Oh, so many secrets.
And find and crush and find. And find and kill and find.
it's safe to talk a little bit now, everyone. Interesting enemies. We have no way to harm them except for explosives. It takes 2 fire arrows, 2 mines, or a mine and a fire arrow to destroy one of these statues. Climbed up there and avoided it. But we have supplies, so we'll use a bit. Hopefully, this hasn't spread outside the Keeper compound. Because if it has, we've seen plenty of gargoyle statues and similar out in the city. And I don't think they will be as careful as the Keeper enforcers were when it comes to the other folks in the city being in their way.
I found more than I bargained for. A hideous old woman who makes statues walk, who is out for my blood and knows me by name. Orland doesn't seem to have a clue, so I don't think he's my man after all. Artemis didn't leave me much to go on either. I managed to escape the ambush, but the Keepers still think I'm the enemy. In fact, I only know of one person who might be able to help me. A Hammerite named Inspector Drept.
Awesome! Oh, I do so like that mission. The introduction of those statues as an enemy now was not what I expected, and immediately, the very first time I had played through this, I became very worried about the statues in the city. As we'll see, it's something that we indeed should be very worried about. Good mission. Good mission. Was seen for no reason when I tried to get back over to the other side of the hall. How much loot did we end up with, by the way? 84%. I think those 2 gems in Artemis's quarters is not enough to get me to 100%, and probably not even 90%. I don't know if we found 3 special loot items either, but I think we did. For some reason, we got a copy of the same book twice, rather than Bafford's diaries, or whatever that was called. That's a shame. It's probably worth more than the other one we picked up. I wonder if it was just a mistake in the text and money being displayed. Probably done because of the patch, which I have applied, which obviously makes these one big mission rather than several different areas that you zone through. Right at the very end there, I was incredibly nervous when that little rat was charging me and the statue was right there. So, if that statue had walked up those stairs and turned in the other direction, it would have seen me, and we would have been punched in the face. I am very glad it turned the opposite direction. That was an awful noisemaker. I thought it would distract both of the statues in that room. Instead, it added a third from the other hallway to run in and block that other side of the room, which would have made fleeing even more difficult. Oh my god, noisemakers, you're so awful in every game in the theme series. Ooh, oh man. Holy crap. Oh god, that was tough. That was tough. 4,000 bucks also retrieved from this. Used quite a few of our supplies. None of our gas arrows, which is nice. And only some gas bombs. Now, I'll talk a little bit more, everyone, before we end this episode. I did practice this mission, which I mentioned at the start, when I swear I got detected by everything, and I blackjacked or gas arrowed everything. Which is why I kind of had a good idea of where the patrols were this time. It's good to have some practice on these missions if I want to probably do it without being as detected as I've been in the past, but I feel a little guilty about that. I want to talk about balance for a little bit here too. If you guys don't care, thank you for watching. I kind of wish there was less quantities of the gear we're allowed to carry, and the things were worth less money when we sold them as well. It would mean you would need to get more of the loot to get the cash that you needed, and it meant that you would have to be more selective at what you brought with you. 20 flash bombs feels like 15 more flash bombs than what Garrett should be allowed to carry. Or alternatively, there needs to be some sort of like equipment, additional equipment satchel or something, like a bag of holding, and maybe you can buy it twice to give you slightly more of these things and to have something else to spend money on. What doesn't help is that there's all these free elemental arrows everywhere, and by God you're gonna get them because they're free. If I was to play the game a second time, I'd have to see if there was maybe a balance patch that adjusted these things. Alternatively, add another house rule where I simply never am allowed to take any free elemental arrows, or maybe like I'm only allowed to pick up 3 and only one of those can be a gas arrow or something to that effect, to really limit what I'm allowed to bring, because we are allowed to bring too much stuff with us. With 4,000 more bucks acquired, I can easily purchase everything we use in that mission. And we've got, I want to say there's 2 more missions, and then 3 more evenings in the city, if I recall correctly. I feel like the AI should probably have been on this level of perception from the start, and there needs to be less gear. I'd make it so that you can only carry 2 gas bombs, 2 explosive mines, half the health potions that you have. The holy water feels fine. Probably the oil flasks are. I don't ever use oil flasks, mostly because they can kill people accidentally. Even I think throwing them onto like a floor could cause someone to float by and then crash into a wall, and they might kill themselves. So I don't use oil flasks. The broadhead arrows can probably go up to 25, but the rest, water arrows should probably be 15 max. Noisemakers are fine at 5. Gas arrows got to go down to 3. And probably 10 fire arrows and 10 moss arrows would be the limits I'd put into the game. And of course, you could still pick up more of them in the actual missions, but I would remove easily half of them from the world, including probably all gas arrows, or maybe have only 1 gas arrow out there somewhere. I'd also have changed the factions, how they work too, because it's way too easy to immediately get allied with everybody. But I'm not a modder for this game, and so I don't want to spend the hours and weeks, years it would take for me to model this stuff in, so for the future, I will have to add some other house rules to make this a lot more difficult. But it's still been fun. The increased AI difficulty, I think, is making this a nice challenge, and me trying to make sure I don't use too many gas arrows and blackjack often, I think is making it, hopefully making it exciting for you guys to watch, as otherwise I think it would just be too easy. There will be some missions, of course, where it's not as easy. Gas arrows can't be used against undead, for example. Neither can, say, gas arrows aren't very useful against the statues. But most of your enemies aren't those things, so. Anyway, I'm doing a bunch of babbling. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.